Everybody, Minus here from PantheonPlus, and today we're actually going to continue on our series entitled Races of Terminus. And we've covered a lot of the fancy races, and we're left with some of the more three traditional ones. So I wanted to go with the most traditional race across any MMORPG, and today we'll be talking about humans. First and foremost, thanks everybody who has been watching this series of videos and our other content on our YouTube channel and has been checking us out in Discord recently. Let's go ahead and just jump right at it. So humans. Humans are in every single MMORPG. We understand why. They're relatable, and they're kind of a jack of all trades. So if we know that outside of Pantheon, the question is, what does Pantheon bring to the table? We'll give you a very quick lore run here, and keep in mind, we always ask you guys to answer the questions at the end of this video, whether it's in the YouTube comments, on Reddit, on Discord, wherever you want to talk, come find us, chat, and give us your opinions in the video. So first and foremost, we're going to be covering their lore very slightly. We're going to talk about the classes that they can be. We're going to then talk about what we think we'll see mostly with the humans. And then we want to talk about just, this one's kind of funny, but we usually discuss, what other MMOs do they remind you of? And humans kind of ruin that a bit. And then where would you rank them within the Pantheon world? Scale of 1 to 10. It doesn't have to even include any of those things. It could just be your thoughts and feelings. So as always, I recommend you guys check out Chris Kane in the link above. He'll give you a quick rundown of the humans. And there's also some human lore within some of the old stories of the world. So you're not going to get all the human lore there. So check some of his other videos about the different ages, which will teach you a little bit more about the humans. Okay, so let's jump right in. Humans are... They're humans. Probably the worst thing to say ever, but they are. And instead of redesigning or developing some kind of inner working to the human that would make them stand out a little bit, I have to say that I think this human race is still another pretty generic human race. I really wish VR would have maybe amped up the storytelling in the human world. Maybe we'll see that when the game comes and all the lore is fleshed out. So I'm not saying that our hopes are lost, but so far the humans feel very generically human. Now, a couple quick details about them that will kind of paint you a picture of what they've been through is when they arrived in Terminus, they were met immediately with blizzard and cold and basically this horrid winter that almost killed them. If it wasn't for the elves. See, that's one of the interesting things at the early age of Terminus, upon the humans arriving, they developed a bond with the elves that helped them survive. And they survived through many wars with their help, and they survived through near eradication multiple times because the humans seem to always be targeted by the wars of the world. Now, their city is actually pretty awesome, and I think that we'll be spending a lot of time in the city of Thronefast because it just looks massively huge. It reminds me a lot of Stormwind from some of the pictures I've seen, so I hope it's going to have its own little pieces that are bigger and greater and tie it to Terminus more than just seeing another human city. So I'm very curious about seeing that. Essentially, this race is just riddled with a deep, dark past of death, and moving on. That human spirit, the human pride. And they are middle-sized rung in strength, in size. They do really talk about the flamboyant pride of the humans. And the one thing that is interesting that not a lot of lore speaks to is that the humans' naval strength is seen as absolutely tremendous. That's a small little line that was said without a lot of detail around it. So maybe we'll see some lore that ties in their ability to battle in the open waters, which would be kind of cool and hopefully progress their story to make them a little more unique. So interesting little bit there. So the next thing we normally would do is say, hey, let's talk about the classes. What classes can humans be? Well, if you've ever played a lot of MMORPGs, most of the time, something that's common, if not always the case, is that humans can be every single class. In some of the lore, they talked about how much the humans were students of the world and learned from the elves and always seek to master these different things. So there is some back lore to why the humans can be all these classes, which is kind of cool. So you guys know the classes. I'm just going to run down them anyway, just so in case you're watching the first Pantheon video you've ever seen, and it's this one. Bard, Cleric, Dire Lord, Druid, Enchanter, Monk, Necromancer, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Shaman, Summoner, Warrior, Wizard. So again, every single class for the humans. And to be honest with you, I'm so used to it, I guess I'm just going to say no problem there. They are the epitome of a neutral race, a neutral good race in most MMORPGs. We'll see what happens with the humans here. But with their story of triumph of near eradication over and over, I think they're going to play into being the good race of the game. Again, sort of generic, but you don't have a lot of room to work with humans, so I can't fault them too much. I just wish, again, there was a little bit more to them. So let me talk about what class will we see the most. Well, when I first thought of this, I said, well, a race that can be every single class, if that's the case, that's going to be really hard to pick, but I don't think it will be. I think we're going to see a ton of human paladins. And I say that because paladins are built really well in this game. If you haven't looked into the paladin, check out our paladin video or check out some of the other creators within PantheonPlus that have made a paladin video. But first and foremost, paladins can only be two races. You're going to be a dwarf or you're going to be a human. And the class is really cool. So I don't doubt that there's not going to be a lot of paladins. And I think there's a lot of people that just for whatever reason don't want to play a short race. So I really think it defaults to those paladin fans, probably somewhere around 80-75% of paladins, I personally feel like are going to be human. So I think you're going to see a lot of human paladins. You're going to see a lot of humans in general. I think it's a basic, easy go-to for most people. And we don't know the racials yet. But the one thing I will say is usually human racials are pretty balanced to have some kind of helpful thing to faction or something like that because they are so neutral, so liked. So I'm curious to see where we go with Terminus on that. The next question doesn't work here. Unfortunately, it's what other game do these remind you of? Well, pick an MMORPG. I mean, as I played WoW as much as I did, this reminds me a lot of the Alliance humans. But I mean, it reminds me of the guy down the street too. So humans are pretty tough to fit into that. So not a super long video because humans in themselves don't provide a lot of difference. But here's the thing. Humans always have their place, and as much as I joke about how generic they are, most of the time I find that when the game is said and done, most of my characters are human. Whether it's just for the way the body armor looks on them, the relatability to their looks and feel, and if you're playing a female character, they usually look more proper than some other races and less and more proportionate to what we're used to. So I think you're going to see a ton of humans. I think a lot of people in the forums, a lot of people in Discord are going to say, why would you play a human? You are one every day. But it just seems to work out in MMORPGs. And maybe that's why companies haven't been changing that much, because it's a tried and true and it seems to work. So how would I rank them? This is tough because humans are needed. Humans are like this in every game. So I could just be real easy and say I'm going to give them a 5 right in the middle, but I'm not. We've seen VR really do a lot with the races so far. The Scar created from the ground up, the recreation of the gnomes, the Archai, recreation of how halflings were. I would have really liked to see some sort of different flair on humans that we've never seen before, and I think that could have skyrocketed the ranking for me. So while I may play a human, I can't say it's just average. We've seen this too many times. So I'm going to give humans a 3. Again, there's no science to this ranking. It just comes down to this. I probably will play one, but I want to see more from a human. I want to see, what are we going to evolve into 700 years in the future? Why can't that be what the human is? I'd like to see more to a human in an MMORPG, a reason that they stand out, a reason that a human in Terminus is different than a human in World of Warcraft or in Final Fantasy. I just want to see something different. So I'm not trying to bash on VR. It's not their fault. It's just the way the industry is, but I think they could have done more. But I'm going to give them a solid 3. So what do you guys think? Do you buy into the why make a human if you're a human every day? Or do you want to play a human? Is the background of this 500-year-old throne-fast city, the hub of the world, is that enticing to you? Do you like being in the middle of strength and size? Do you like their body type and the way armor fits on them? Are you excited at all that maybe there's going to be some story tied into the naval strength side of it? There are some things that could change my view when we actually play the game, but for now I'm giving them a 3. You tell me what you think. And as always, guys, if you're watching the video and you enjoy our content, I can't tell you how much it helps to hit the subscribe button. So we really do appreciate that. And hey, we'll see you next week. We got 2 left.